Good evening, everybody. My name is Vishal Gondal, and I'm the founder and CEO of GOQii. Welcome to yet another session of GOQii Health Talks, an interactive session of me with some amazing world-class personalities who are coming from the field of health, fitness, wellness, and yoga. Today, I have a very special guest. He is known as the global leading holistic health guru. He has started the entire concept of integrated health when possibly this word was also not heard by anyone. He has trained Miss Indias, he's trained movie stars, he's trained celebrities, he's trained policemen, and he even trains people in yoga on the streets of Marine Drive. My guest today is a very dear friend and an amazing personality, Dr. Mickey Mehta. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mickey.
Hi Vishal, as your name suggests, Vishal, and so are you. It's amazing. And so is Yoga Vishal, and so is Ayurveda Vishal.
So we have a very exciting talk because we are now just coming around the World Yoga Day. And yoga, which started with Patanjali talking about yoga thousands of years back, has today become such a mainstream topic. But for a lot of people, yoga is all about doing asanas. In your view, what truly is yoga, and how can this definition be much more broad based?
So let's understand the etymology of the word yoga. So, if you were to see, yoga is born out of the Sanskrit word yuj, Y-U-J. And if you were to see the etymology of the word yoke, the joint, the join, and yoga means oneness, wholeness of the two polarities. And when two polarities, instead of contradicting and conflicting with each other, begin to complement each other in equilibrium and harmony, it is yoga. So I always tell people that yoga is the perfect confluence of two energies, Atha, Yin Yang, Chandra Surya, Shiva Shakti, and the perfect confluence meeting at a point at the Shunyam portion in the center. Can you imagine the Ganga coming from here, the Yamuna coming from here, and meeting at a point called Saraswati? A new entity is born. So yoga always gives rise to creativity, new entity. Number two, yoga is the prefrontal cortex connect with all humans and all life force. Yoga is a perfect sacred geometry congruence between the human body and the cosmic body. They throb together, their bioclocks are together, so our circadian rhythm of the unit with the unity circadian rhythm, they get very congruent. And lastly, yoga is the resonance of the limbic brain of a human, which is supposed to be the reptilian brain, which is completely aware of all life force and all existence universally, not just of this world. So yoga in detail is much more than what eyes can see. So yoga is a principle of creativity, principle of productivity, principle of humility, and yoga also brings cessation of the mind. Chitta vritti nirodha. Vasudevo kutumbakam. Vairagya. The first yogi of the world, which is Shiva, he says, Yatha pinde tatha brahmande. As is the atom, so is the cosmos. As it is you, and so is the universe. Every quality of the cosmos is in you. Every quality of the ocean is in the drop. So when the drop merges with the ocean, the drop doesn't die, it becomes the ocean. So yoga is an endeavor to become the universe. Be one with the universe, totality, oneness, wholeness, and throb with its throb, radiate with its radiation, and vibrate with the collective consciousness. In short,
So, since yoga has such wide meaning and application, for an average person, when they are looking at social media or they look at television or any other place, yoga becomes like, somebody is doing Surya Namaskar, somebody is doing, breathing, somebody is doing some kind of asanas, which are very difficult to do. So the problem right now is that an average person's definition of yoga is very, very linked to these asanas. So,
Okay.
what actually, for a simple person who does not understand yoga, are there any three basic disciplines which one could look at from yoga if I want to become a practitioner of yoga?
Okay. So the word practice for yoga is not an appropriate word, because you could be in practice today, out of it today. It is like somebody saying the word condition, because condition could be in and out, but the word state is for yoga. So sthiram, sukham, asana. So sthiram is steady, still. Sukham means anything that is steady and still is in the state of bliss. Anything that is moving is in the state of stress. So sthiram, sukham, asan. Now asan is a posture, and asan a, which means the A stands for the seat of awareness. The seat of awareness, in any posture that you get in, you should be in your comfort zone. In your comfort zone, you are still, you are steady, you are collected, and because you are collected, you are connected. And that asana connects you to the whole world. In fact, every posture is an opportunity to teleport into the dimension of universal awareness. Now, what happens with universal awareness? So, pride, anger, lust, envy, gluttony, avarice, sloth, calm, krodh, lobha, moh, mad, maya, matsara. These are individual attributes of ego and characteristics. But when you become universal, they dissolve. And what comes to you is flow, rhythm, awareness, and awakeness, and deep perspectives. Every perception of the world is available to you. Every insight, every intuition, every foresight is available, but of course, gradual. So as you settle deep into every asana, where the journey from discomfort to comfort, that process is the process of awakening, the process of dissolving the I of me into the I of we. So we also is one universal I. So I mean, this was floating around many, many years back, that when you take away I and put we, illness becomes wellness. So wellness is everything about togetherness, orchestration, symphony. So yoga brings about internal functions into harmony. So literally your heart rate from staggered and scattered comes to rhythm. So the word rhythm comes from Sanskrit hriday, hriday. So hriday, rhythm. So the word measure comes from the word maya. So yoga gives you vairagya from maya. So you go beyond measures. Go beyond quality and quantity, and you simply be. So yoga builds characters and personalities. It gets rid of all the attributes of negativity. It gets rid of everything a human being carries as a burden, as a weight on the mind, and it liberates you to choose freely, to be an individual. A perfect yogi is independent of criticism and glory. A perfect yogi is independent of market pressures. What will the world think? Societal pressures. A perfect yogi is also independent of the community and the regional living habits. He is simply living free. He is simply evolving, and he is simply very spontaneous. He doesn't judge. He is only participating in the entire being and becoming of this world. Now, coming back to the layman terms, a perfect yogi is in charge of his body. When you become completely aware of all your physical functions, thus becoming completely aware of all your physical parts, thus becoming completely aware of everything that is happening inside of you and outside of you, he becomes in charge of his life as well. Now, let's say people see yoga as a posture. Let's say you're doing a chakrasana. Now, holding a chakrasana for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. What is exactly happening inside while somebody is in a bridge position? So, first of all, I say the bridge is to bridge the gap between the mind and the body and the spirit. Okay. And number two, that One is patience. In yoga, dhairya comes to fore. So your personality transforms into patience. In yoga, you're holding the posture for a minute plus, resilience comes to fore because you're holding from the core outwards. So in that oneness, resilience. In yoga, you are bearing your body's stretch and contracting abilities. So tenacity comes to fore. Now this translates into mental tenacity as well. This translates into mental resilience as well. In yoga, you open your body and thus you open your mind. So a flexible body gives way to a flexible mind. So a flexible mind, instead of asking why, will always ask why not. So flexible mind is life affirmative. A yogi is life affirmative. So I can comfortably say that yoga builds not just personalities, but nations, and not just nations, this whole universe.
So that's an amazing way to look at yoga. But there is this, I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you too. Typically, when you are looking at people, they see everybody running on treadmill, doing weights, doing aerobics, jumping the ropes, and nowadays all these new forms of exercise that people are throwing the tire here and there. And so when you look at that, and then you see one person, just sitting calmly in yoga and making slight movements, you think that यार इससे yoga से कैसे होगा, the whole
But
concept that I want to build a body, or I want to lose weight, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. But when people look at yoga, it seems comparatively much less intense. And you think that इससे कैसे होगा, and in fact there is a feeling somewhere that yoga is for slightly older people who possibly cannot do these form of exercises. So what is your suggestions around that?
so, as I said, chitta vritti nirodha, which means cessation of the mind, cessation of the speed of life, the pace of life, and letting life simply be, settled, and in its being is becoming. As I said, that if you are in chakrasana, it looks steady and still to you, but within there is dynamism happening because the person who's holding the chakrasana. Awareness of the blood going here, blood going there. Awareness of the stomach stretching, back contracting. You understand? Awareness of the quadriceps stretching, hamstrings contracting. Awareness of the equilibrium because you're holding it at the center of the gravity. And awareness of being still and calm. And the more calmness comes in, the more settled you get. You get insights, foresights, intuitions, etc. Now, fitness is madness. Fitness is running. You want to get there, and you will never ever get there. Yoga is being in it, and in that being is wellness. So, fitness is madness, yoga is being and wellness because yoga integrates all your functions. So, yoga, literally in yoga, your endocrine system works to 100% if your asanas, if your breath are perfectly coordinated. So typically, I would want to say, like we've heard about, no? So your first line of defense in immunity is macrophages. They attack the body and they consume all the bacteria and they kill the bacteria. The second line of defense is your T cells and your B cells. So your thymus cell responds. So in yoga, your thymus cells become very, very reactive and stimulated and very sensitive to respond immediately. And your B cells, your bone marrow cells. So what happens typically, your macrophage, thymus, and bone marrow, these three are good enough not to allow the cytokine storm. And then every other hormone. So yoga gives rise to serotonin, endorphin, oxytocin. And these three hormones are just good enough to keep you healed. The word health actually means healing. Only yoga can be said to be healing. Fitness is not healing in nature. So yoga is the best medicine as a prevention, but we don't do yoga for prevention, we do yoga for much higher attributes. So if you were to see that, I would say that the highest denomination is evolution for yoga, evolution of mankind. Transforming of the mind, transforming of the soul, cessation of the cluttered mind, settling of the cluttered mind. And the light increasing in the empty mind space. So yoga in Zen we say that empty the mind and mind the emptiness. In yoga also we say let the mind go through cessation, complete calm, let the storm settle, and simply clarity prevail. The light prevail. You are awakened. Now, all the madness of tires and those war ropes and whatever you are doing, speed ladders, typically is detrimental to health and wellness. It can give you fitness, but it doesn't give you wellness. I've seen the best of bodybuilders in COVID time. I've seen super fit athletes crumbling down, vulnerable to even the slightest amoebic infection. Even they and highest amount of acidosis for all people who work out like dogs, like mad. I tell people that workout should be a celebration, not a punishment. Make love to your body. It's romancing yourself. So yoga is literally romancing yourself. Literally romancing yourself. Now, the byproducts of workouts, lactic acid, and the high amount of oxidization in your body because excessive exercise has resulted into many deaths of runners, young guys. They really don't know what stability, equilibrium, homeostasis is all about.
And
But
sleep is the most compromised for these people.
can you imagine? There are people who finish their work at 9 in the night, they hit the gym. I believe there are many film stars. I'm told, I don't know which in particular, that they finish their shift at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, they work out at 2 o'clock and sleep at 3 o'clock. This could be bizarre, most detrimental to the body bioclocks. You are training your bioclocks to function in a zone which is very uncomfortable because we are programmed to respond to the circadian rhythm. Our energy is rise with the sunrise. So as the first ray of sun hits your body, forget that. As the first ray of sun is in the environment and the knowledge of it is to the body begins to get awakened
Fact,
slowly.
I was told that Bhastrika, for
Yeah,
example, is something
yeah.
you do in the morning. It's not something you should do in the evening or night. Because in yoga, actually, exercises are even designed compared to the time of the day, which is why Surya Namaskar is very specific that you should do it in the morning. You can't do, so I mean, you can do, but you should not be doing it in the middle of the night or in the evening.
Perfect. So I think Paschimottanasana, then the cobbler's position and butterfly, then Balasana. Now these are something you can do in the evening to open up and stretch, but don't jolt the body in the evening. Never go out for long runs in the evening. Never do any intense workout in the evening. In fact, for people who are struggling with obesity, I always tell them that do a good workout in the morning and evening you supplement it, complement it by slow walks, slow stretching, and slow breathing. Only Anulom Vilom Nadi Shodhan in the evening. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my audience, you ought to know that Vishal is a very avid yoga believer, yoga practitioner, and perhaps he can do a couple of more better asanas than I can.
No, I think, like I said, right, it is a state of mind. And coming to the state of mind, there is this entire discussion around even karma yoga, and Gita talks about even doing your work
Yeah, yeah.
well is yoga. So
So,
yoga is not just about, yeah, so please go ahead.
so I want to, yeah, here comes Gita. You just touched upon what Gita talks about. So Gita simply talks about that yoga takes you from avidya to vidya. Yoga takes you from asmita to humility. Yoga takes you from raga to vairagya. And yoga takes you from dvesha to attraction, law of attraction. And the last thing, yoga takes you from abhinivasha to completely being calm and relaxed about not clinging on. So these are the Panch Mahakleshas. Now, these Panch Mahakleshas can be only attained if literally a Panch Mahabhuta, which means the elements, are purified. So Gita talks about purifying of the mind, cessation of the mind, being cool and collected. Gita tells you you're not alone. Because when you think you are alone is the highest state of misery because the feeling of separation brings pain. The feeling of separation brings grudges, jealousy, more. greed. So once again, if I were to revisit the seven sins, so seven sins: pride, anger, lust, envy, gluttony, avarice, sloth. Now Gita shows a way through Vairagya that we can do away with this sitting in the postures, because while being so fulfilled in the posture, in the bliss quotient, trust me, your physical attributes, your mental attributes, and you are never hankering about the future. You are never anxious about your past haunting you. You're simply just so complete in the here now, and you're looking forward with gleaming eyes, beaming eyes from here to now to then. So yoga and Gita, they go together. So the entire Gita would be explained in Patanjali Sutras. I mean, I'm trying to learn a sutra every day, and I'm still learning. And it's such a beautiful thing.
And I've been in this lockdown. I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and that's when I realized that the problem is that our understanding of yoga is very narrow. Yoga is everything. It's how you live your life, the deeds you do, how you interact with other people, and how you interact with your own self. So it has so many dimensions, and we all kind of somehow put yoga in a very small box. It is the mother of all exercises and all forms put
Or
together.
creation. So the word Aham Brahmasmi, if you were to see Aham Brahmasmi, typically says that I, the eternal self, not I, the body which will perish. I which will continue. So I, the eternal self, is the creator, is the one who will maintain, and is the one who will allow you to transit.
So part of the problem, Dr. Mehta, is that in karate you are, and I know you have been a very big martial arts, right? So there is white belt, black belt, green belt. So people know ki acha, this is the level I start with, and then I become the black belt master, and then there are all these different belts. So in yoga, because yoga has so many things, what is the equivalent of level 1 of yoga, and how do you get to level 100 of yoga? Is there some guideline? Because as a person who wants to start, where does one start, and then where does one go?
So typically on the ladder of evolution where yoga is concerned, it's the point of your starting could be very different from the point of somebody else's starting being the first time out. Because we are at different levels of evolution ourselves. So it is the evolutionary state of your consciousness and being which is so unique from any other and every other. Trust me, there couldn't be two perfectly genetically same signature people. As we say, there couldn't be two perfectly thumb impression people, because we were not manufactured on assembly lines. It's as simple as that. So yoga is an evolutionary ladder, which typically, first of all, makes you climb up the ladder. It's not a literal climber, because yoga is never linear. It is always simultaneous, and it is in all directions. But in English language, we ought to make people understand the linear language. So on the ladder of evolution, a yogi can climb and get higher than gods, or fall and go below animals. So wherever you start from, your journey to become a god starts. So I always say that Krishna, Christ, Muhammad, Mahadev, Zarathustra, the Buddha, weren't they all humans? They were all humans in seed form, but they were all yogis in their being. And because they allowed their character and personality not to be defined, they became defined, definition less. They became gods, because God cannot be defined. That cannot be measured. That cannot be qualified, quantified, indefinable. So yoga is a journey of zero definition. So it is very difficult to determine the starting point. So the day you start, the moment you start is your starting point. Okay, if you literally were to know, the starting point could be Sukhasana, Siddhasana, Palat. You're sitting like this in the most comfortable position. You start with an extremely comfortable position, and you graduate to the most difficult position in the perception of the others. But when
This Sukhasana, I have to tell you my own story.
yeah,
As a kid, we used to be able to sit in Sukhasana very easily. But somewhere in the last 20 years, I realized that it was very uncomfortable for me to sit in Sukhasana, which is supposed to be the most comfortable position.
Yeah.
So now for the past 3 years, I trained and practiced every day. And now I can sit comfortably at least for 45 minutes to an hour in Sukhasana. So I think for people out there, even if you can sit alti palti, as we say,
Yeah.
you can just sit like this for 30 minutes. That is yoga.
So I'll tell you once again. So if you say the starting point, yoga is always about being a lotus in the muck. So first of all, independent of the environment and independent of your mental condition at that point in time, yoga allows you to dissolve that. So when you get into Sukhasana, the first thing that happens naturally to you is, so it is a child when takes birth, naturally breathes out first. The crying first happens. Once the crying, the lungs are emptied, then the child, when the doctor pats, begin to breathe. So yoga is about emptying yourself. Let's say if you were to step out of your four walls, whether it's office, whether it's your home, or it's a theater or a mall, the first thing happens when you step out of the door of the building, your breathing from staggered goes to rhythmic. And first deep breath. You go to a seaside, deep breath. You go close to plants, deep breath. But if at all you are in a state of stress, you do the opposite. When we say no, we heave a sigh of relief.
Sigh of relief, yes.
And these are natural biomechanical responses of the body. Isn't that so beautiful? Your subconscious knows whether to suck in the deep breath or to let go of the stress.
So it's very interesting, right? That even though yoga has been in our country, in our culture for thousands of years, somewhere the West is really where yoga thrived and, became what it is. In fact, we hear a lot about yoga now from the West than what is happening here, because somewhere, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. So we have been skeptical for it. But I think clearly we have seen what's happening in Germany, what's happening in America, especially on yoga and the adoption there. So what is the difference between the yoga practiced in the West versus in India?
So 2-3 things comes to my mind. So I think Maharishi Mahesh Yogi ji, B.K. Iyengar ji, they were, the foremost yoga people as long as my memory as a kid goes. And in today's time, Baba Ramdev, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, Sadhguru ji, and Ma Hansa ji of the Yoga Institute. If you see, those yogas were so simple. And they're called Sahaj Yoga. Even the Bihar School of Yoga, everybody tells you that your starting point should be extremely simple. Sahaj, Sundar. Sahaj is Sundar. As we say, Satyam Shivam Sundaram, so Sahaj is simplicity is beautiful. Now, you go to the West, and they are doing one leg up, two hands down, and they're trying acrobats. So somewhere they missed the point.
And then there was also whole hot yoga where people are sweating.
Yeah, so that, respect to all those gentlemen who tried to innovate something new, but eventually it is detrimental. So if somebody were to do hot yoga for 6-7 days a week, your blood pressure will go for a toss, your blood sugar will go for a toss, there'll be extreme debility within you, and lightheadedness and all that will be there. Now, what happens with all the acrobats and the circus of the world, you lose out on that stillness of the mind because you're so much focused on balancing and learning it fast. Here, the thing is that allow it to go through the process of the curd. जैसे दही जमता है उसको जमने दो, जैसे एक आसन में बैठे हो तो आराम आने दो, आनंद आराम आएगा तो आनंद आएगा, तो आनंद बिगर आराम के नहीं आएगा. So every asana has to bring you absolute comfort for it to bring you absolute bliss and absolute peace. So if yoga is about bringing absolute bliss and peace the peace are progenitors of your harmony of hormones. They are the progenitors of your perfect blood circulation. They give rise to the perfect rhythm of heart. They give rise to fill up all the five lobes of your lungs. So quick breathing, like dogs. Dogs would never fill up their lungs because they are constantly. Although in Kapalbhati and Bhastrika we do speed breathing, but then we alternate it with deep breathings as well. So those are stimuli. And then that is recovery. So a human being has five lobes, two on the left, three on the right. Now, typically when people are recovering from COVID, it is very difficult for their vital capacity to cross 2.5 and 3 because the lungs remain infected for years on, and probably they will remain infected. And I am doing some research with Dr. Ali Rani from Nanavati. He told me, Mickey, that the average lung capacity of everybody was admitted, at least 6,000 people of the study they did, was below 2. So a good yogi's lung capacity is between 4 and 5 because he moves his diaphragm 12 to 13 centimeters. And when your diaphragm moves 12 to 13 centimeters, it allows your lungs to expel all air and breathe in and fill it in, so that the 20% of the oxygen portion in the air is also, you get perfect saturation of oxygen.
In fact, you made a very interesting point. So the general belief was कि यार जितना आप थकोगे, जितना आपका heart rate ऊपर जाएगा, जितना आपका breathing fast होगा, that is good. That is what we see in aerobics and everything else. But what I really realized that longevity comes from slowness. So in fact, I am now trying to reduce my resting heart rate. So my goal is not to push my heart rate, but I am saying कि what is going to be my lowest heart rate? How long can I hold my breath rather than how much can I rapidly breathe? So I think
a very good analogy here I would give you, कछुए की चाल. कछुए की चाल में चाल समझ में नहीं आती कि वो चल रहा है कि बैठा है. That's the beauty.
And kachua, by the way, is the entire face of longevity.
Exactly.
कछुए 400 साल. There are
slow metabolism, a relaxed metabolism. So it is said that biomechanically our hearts are built to last 300 years. So Aram and Anand are two very most important factors for your heart to function 300 years. See why जो जल्दी तेज भागते वो तेज ऊपर जाते हैं. You are expending your ex predetermined breath within that short period of time. So because now genetically you're programmed to breathe, let's say 21,600 breaths a day. But if those breaths are consumed very slowly, then your tiredness will come in much late, and the need for the body to sleep will be only 4 to 5 hours. As Ramdev ji and Sadhguru ji and Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, they are the embodiments. We are the living metaphors of Kachwas here. So I'm trying to get there, but they are also blessed with sattvic food. I mean, we also have rajasic and tamas gun food many a times. Okay, flesh and blood. A man in flesh and blood, it takes man born to make mistakes, otherwise we'll be gods. So I always take the advantage of this proverbial saying, but I'm trying to get there. Eventually, my life is going to be that of a yogi. I mean, my future is that of an ashram. And this is all because I know I'm going to stay somewhere. I'm going to be still somewhere. I will stay put. I will not be running. I mean, today my running has reasonably gone down, but thanks to the digital world. But eventually, this is going to be my spiritual evolution. And this is where I will help people evolve spiritually.
Also, we are soon going to be celebrating your very big landmark coming up, which
Stepping into 60.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. We are going to be celebrating your 60th birthday on the day when Fit India movement was launched in India.
Absolutely.
We know that.
Yeah, and people, you must know that GOQii and myself, we are colleagues on the Fit India movement panel. And I think, Vishal, this brings to my mind that when Fit India movement is happening, and typically today, the senior citizens are going down in the graph in fitness. I think it would be a very good thing to start an initiative to weave as many 60 plus people and start a movement
I
and
think
get them.
nobody, first of all, will believe that you are 60. That is, I think we will have to actually somehow sell it. In fact, we will do a live on that day for
We
sure.
will certainly,
Because
as
I
we've
think,
been doing for 3 years. And my gratitude to you, Vishal, that you've been very magnanimous and very philanthropic in that sense, that you allow other professional to use your platform, and there is no insecurity because we both belong to the same mindset that let everybody grow, let us all share, and let us all care. So empathy is what yoga gives you.
we are
Empathy.
all part of this big family, right? As we say, right?
Exactly,
We
exactly,
are part of this big family, and we
exactly.
have the blessings of yoga, which at least I am
Absolutely.
lucky now that I have started following to some extent. But there is this very interesting debate which came out now
Hmm.
around yoga in Ayurveda and allopathy. Even though I was amazed to see that the prone position which they talk about is a yoga position.
100%.
The breathing position. So traditional science, when they say, oh, do this 4-8-6 breathing. So I said, what 4-8-6 breathing? So I said, oh, this is just anulom vilom, or so eventually all the breathing forms, and especially for mental health and so many things now, yoga asanas are prescribed, but without calling them yoga asanas, different names.
Correct.
uh, right now there is this big debate of evidence based and non evidence based. So, what, according to you, is the evidence of yoga helping people versus the traditional means of exercise and nutrition?
So, Harvard, I think, did studies on yoga and meditation. So, yogic breathing of Anulom Vilom and meditation. They found out that the blood sugar levels, the markers of blood sugar, the markers of hypertension, the markers of rest, healing, and sleep in the best zone, the markers of, I would say, the lung capacity. So they are beginning to validate it. Also, you will be surprised that Mayo Clinic, Sloan's Clinic, and many other Imperial Medicine and all empirical medical based structures today, organizations, are including yoga in the rehab of major surgeries, especially cardiac. So, isn't that validation enough? And yes, to my best knowledge, Deepak Chopra is doing a lot of research with so very many scientists. He's done many, and he's brought to fore that whether it is yogic breathing, whether it is yogic asanas, or whether it is yogic meditation, all three are healing in nature and progressive healing on a graph. I mean, we couldn't ask for more. And more more and more surgeons today are endorsing it and saying that you must breathe. You must do breathing. So chest PT typically or physiotherapy is nothing but a slightly deeper than clavicle breathing of the yogis. And I would say that I've been working and meeting very many oncos and very many lung specialists, pulmonary specialists. You touched upon Ayurveda. So they said that please take these medicines as safety, and otherwise you can do herbs, you can do homeopathy. Now this is a delight. And I seriously must thank Ayush Ministry. I seriously must thank Modi ji. I seriously must thank all the good Ayurveda doctors and not the quacks who are now being distinguished as the cream of the society of the medical science, that herbs work. And today, brother, the whole of Western medicine in the next 10 years is going to do customized herbal medicines for human constitutions. So specific constitution, specific medicine. Typically, homeopathy and Ayurveda, they look into your character and personality to prescribe a medicine to you. And this exactly was going to happen in mid 80s. Customized medicine was almost there when probably the whole pharma lobby thought it is too early. Let us exhaust everything we have in a Pandora's box, sell it all, and when the world is ready for it, and there is no other way. So now it is said that there are more deaths happening with toxicity of the medicine. I'm not saying medicines are great lifesavers. Modern medicine is great. It has got the finest touch. I mean, they are like gods. They give life, they support life, they save lives, but unnecessary surgeries and I would say not so prudent consumption of medicines without medical supervision, vitaminizing, proteinization, all these things put together has given this a bad name. So customized medicines with proper classical Ayurveda herbs, classical, is just around the corner. Homeopathy is thriving. In Europe and America, homeopathy has suddenly peaked. Ayurveda has been recognized by Germany, England, America, all the first world countries, and more Ayurveda colleges, more Ayurveda clinics are springing up, and Ayurveda understands what to give you when, what to prescribe in terms of food, in which season. Ayurveda says your breath can become your medicine. Ayurveda says everything that you ingest in terms of food is your medicine. Your visual perception stimuli can be your medicine. The sound that you hear can become your medicine. So this is the depth of Ayurveda. It comes from a realm which cannot be fathomed, and it goes to the realm which cannot be understood. But all it brings about to you is an upsurge, upheaval of healing, vibrance, radiance, and medical science is getting baffled. So it is so happening that so many fatally, you know, grade 3, grade 4 cancer patients, where doctors literally write off, they eventually not just survive, they become victors of cancers, not victim. And so thanks to Ayurveda, where they tell us how to use Pancha Mahabhuta as medicine and how to use meditation as medicine and sleep as medicine. And then, of course, nose drops, ear drops, navel drops, abhyangam, shirodhara, everything, basti. This completely turns you around upside down, your cellular function. And there is a jubilant celebration in the body when you begin to embrace Ayurveda and homeopathy.
So I know we are almost running out of time. We have a few questions from the audience. I thought we should take them. One question is around inversions. Yoga has headstands and that other halasana, and there is this entire body of asanas where you invert your body.
Yeah.
Now, what are the advantages of inversion, and what kind of effects can it have, especially people with blood pressure, etc.? Are there any kind of inversions in yoga they should be avoiding?
So, ever since the benefits of handstand or headstand, that's we say now, Shirsasana, Shir. The benefits of Shirsasana are immense. So, let's say I'm sitting, I'm standing, my organs are hanging. What are they subjected to? Gravity. What is gravity? Depletes energy. So, there is depletion of energy. They are hanging, so they are in strain and stress. The more you stand, the more they get tired. Okay? Now, there is a static blood supply because if you're standing, you can only have X amount of blood supply. When you get into an inversion, the blood gushes from top downwards. So the heart doesn't have to work hard to pump the blood upwards. So your heart relaxes. Also, let's say you're speed running, to recover, you bend down and breathe. So that is half pronation. So when you're in Shirsasana, your recovery is faster, your lungs can fill in more oxygen, your lobes open up better. Also, now most important thing, now the inversion of the West, they made inversion benches. And also there is an anti-gravity, the hanging suspension exercises. So there is a caution there. When you do an inversion on the ground, your head is touching the floor. Okay? So the X amount of blood collects and comes down. And it tells you with awareness when to turn around. It's enough. But when you suspend yourself in the air, it might be a little too late when you realize that you've been suspended, inversed for a very long time and could be very detrimental to your brain and eye health.
Okay, that's
especially
all this new yoga where people are tying them with all these ropes and
correct. So the fancy circus also has to be done with under strict supervision. Also, most importantly, the gravity which will you be subjected to when you are inverted and suspended will be much more in nature, and that is depleting in energy. So for people who are doing inversions suspended, do it with caution. I'm not saying it is bad, but do so with caution and
And
be
awareness.
extremely aware of the discomfort growing. At the slightest discomfort, turn around very slowly, not with a knee-jerk reaction. So Shirsasana in turn, I would say, it is very good to relax your organs. Give it rest in the opposite position. They've been hanging like this, then they're in the rest position, cocoon.
That's very good. So I know we are just completely out of time. What are your final words with yoga and the future of health given the post-COVID world?
So, people embrace yoga with the love for yourself because be selfish in this condition. Take time out to do yoga and serve yourself so well, being selfish and prioritize yourself that you can serve the universe better. I would not say expect anybody to become a yogi, but I would certainly say that start walking the path of yoga like a tortoise. And as you enjoy, you will see the tortoise wanting to walk more in that path of yoga because yoga brings you that bliss quotient. It will bring you aram, it will bring you ananda. And this ananda is intoxicating. And once you are used to this intoxication, you will not want to smoke, you will not want to joint, you will not want to drink, you will not want any kind of drug. So 65% of the West today are on sleeping pills. You will not want sleeping pills. 35-40% of the West are on psychiatric pills, medicine. You will wean them off very slowly because self-fulfillment will grow. Your endocrine will work very well. Your oxytocin, your endorphins, your serotonin will flow so well. Your heart will be in rhythm. Your lungs will breathe. And when your lungs are full, you only want to jump and dance and you are in a state of joy like a child. So childlike innocence will be there. Creativity will be there. Productivity will be there. Every human being will be a leader. And every yogi will also only follows the purpose and not the dream. So when a yogi follows the purpose, the universe fulfills the dream. And then, of course, you can get energized, maximize,
And
optimize,
and
actualize,
Mickey
and get
Mouse.
Mickey Mouse.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you. Thanks a
No, no,
lot.
Vishal, I'm so grateful to you, so ever so grateful to you. And love to come and meet you once things open up better, once
Thank you.
you're comfortable. Let's meet in your vibrant office, guys.
Next
Vishal's office, everything is red like his t-shirt, and it's fun. The office is like a playground of life. It is a
next week we are meeting.
hub of creativity.
Next week. Thank you. Thanks
Next
again.
week, done. I'll
Bye.
come back. See you,
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.